Hi there, Keith here, and in this video we're going to do a quick run through some of the settings that you should be considering in your own WordPress blog here within this course. So uh, we've already logged in, and so if you were at the website, you would have gone down to this meta area, and where it says Site Admin, it would have said Log In. And so you put in your credentials and log in, and that brings us to the dashboard. So the general settings that you need to be concerned with are all found within settings. So that's not too difficult to figure out. If you hit settings, there's going to be a bunch of subheadings underneath, and it's going to take you to the first one that's called general. And so one thing you might want to look at is your blog site will have started off with a name like your name, Keith's blog, something like that. And so you can change the title of that blog if you want, something that you think is more important to you. And most blogs have a tagline, sort of like a subheading or a subtitle. And so you can change that. You can't mess around with the email address. That's a bit dicey. Um, I'd rather you didn't anyway. And you might want to set the time zone for your blog. It's a little simpler if you are confident about how time is being expressed on your blog. And the easiest way is to scroll up until you find a city that you recognize as having the same time zone as you and select that. Time format may or may not be of interest to you, and what day the week starts on is only really going to be important if you have some kind of calendar displaying somewhere. So we'll hit Save Changes. And on any one of these pages, you're going to need to hit Save Changes to make what you're doing take effect. So here in the writing section, there isn't too much you really need to change, but you might want to use a default post category. You have to have more categories created in order to use them, but if they were there, they'd show up in the dropdown. So if I was using the course website here, I might make the default post category the category called instructor posts. So we're going to go down to the reading tab under settings, and here there's a number of things that you might want to do. First of all, the home page of your blog. By default, it will show your most recent posts, typically something like 10 of them. But you could have your blog set up more like a website and have a particular static page show up as your home page. It's something you could choose. You can also change how many posts you expect to show on that front page, how many posts you want to hand out to anybody who uses RSS to collect your posts and display them elsewhere. And if someone is using RSS to link into your blog, would they see just a summary or the whole text of your posts? That's another thing you can set here. And of course, we hit Save Changes if we're making any changes. The next one down the list is discussion, and this one's important because I think it's really important in this course that you go and comment on posts in each other's blog sites, and that's where discussion can take place in this online course. But on the flip side of that, these WordPress blogs can be hit by spam fairly quickly once they're out in the open, and once it's possible for machines to try and enter a comment on one of the blog posts. So there's a number of default settings that are here under discussion. And really under discussion, you should think this is commenting on your post. This is where the settings are for that. So these default settings here are typically fine. In the next set, you'll see one here at the top. It's often here, it's set by default. Comment author must fill out name and email. That's a good idea. Users must be registered and logged in to comment. That can actually work pretty well in this course because every other student in the course is actually logged into the student's blog installation, of which your blog is one. So they would be able to comment if you use that system. But you can also leave it off. Enable threaded comments is always a good idea. So down here, what I think is one of the more useful safeties to ensure that you don't get spam showing up on the front, on your actual blog posts, is before a comment appears, comment author must have a previously approved comment. So it doesn't mean you're going to approve every comment that comes in, like this one above here would indicate comment must be manually approved. It means that the comment author has to have been approved once. So basically you just need to approve comments from each of the fellow students in your course once, and after that they'd all be able to come back and comment on blog posts. So that's a good one to leave set there. Email notifications. Do you want to be emailed whenever anyone posts a comment on your blog? Do you want to be emailed if a comment is held for moderation? So that means WordPress thinks there's something fishy about it, thinks it might be spam. So it's not going to show up on your blog post, and it's going to be held there for moderation. So these are all, I think, good settings to have, but having done that, that means you do need to go in and check on comments that have shown up in your blog. Now you can also have a blacklist, which is words that will cause something to go to spam. And there are other items here around avatars and that sort of thing. We've hit Save Changes down here, and that will add that into those settings into your blog. Media settings, pretty straightforward. I think you can leave them on the default side. Permalinks is what kind of URL or link are new posts that you create going to use. And so there's like a syntax to them. In this case, the default is the date and name. So here's the URL of the blog. And here's a bit that spells out what the date of the post was. And here is where the name of the post would be. And that's fine. But typically, I would change it to just post name. Because if you're not going to have so many blog posts that you're going to have two posts of the same name, why not have it a little simpler with just the URL of your blog and then your post name. We'll hit Save Changes on that. The anti-spam bee, we'll leave that alone. It's fine the way it comes. And video quick tags. This allows you to set up things so that if you had the URL of, say, a YouTube video, it would show up and actually embed perhaps in one of your blog posts. But we're going to leave those settings as well the way they are. So this is an important thing to understand, the different settings that control how your blog behaves. And having done that, one more thing that we want to take a quick look at is where do you see comments? And if we were here on the main page, if we had comments, they would show here with a number. It says we have no comments awaiting moderation. If we click on this, it'll take us to the comments page. The only comment that's sitting here is the one that's generated automatically when the blog is created and it's sent from Anonymous. So if we had comments awaiting moderation, they'd be listed here. And once we decided they were okay, they weren't spam, we could click there and we could approve them. And that's how you would get comments that are sent by your fellow students to then show up on your blog post. And if you had that setting where once approved once, they were all good to come in from that author, then that's all you'd have to do for that particular student to have the comments coming in. So that's one thing I want you to be very careful to be sure that commenting that happens from other students on posts in your blog actually gets through to be displayed on the website. And depending on what kind of settings you decide to have, that will mean having to come in and approve comments at the very beginning or perhaps more regularly. Anyway, that's been a quick introduction to the settings. Please let me know if you have any questions about it, and we'll have another one up soon about writing posts.